you through diet, exercise, and education. At Castle Medical Center, the doctors and nurses are more than just experts. They're lifestyle coaches who understand how much you want to be there for your son's graduation, your daughter's wedding, every baby luau that follows. Sound good? Good. Take the first step and visit castlemed.org or call 263-5176. Castle Medical Center. Exceptional medicine by exceptional people.
Hawaii's Business Authority, KGU, Honolulu.
Part of the Wall Street Business Network.
Covering the financial and business news you need to know.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Authorities say dozens of travelers have been injured, but no one killed in a chain reaction of collisions on Interstate 75 along Florida's Gulf Coast. Florida Highway Patrol Lieutenant Chris Miller says at least 53 people were injured in that pileup, which involved dozens of vehicles.
We don't have any fatalities, which is very fortunate for the amount of crashes that we had. We did have 2 patients that were flown out, but we don't expect any fatalities.
Also at srnnews.com, health officials are identifying the medical clinics across the country that receive steroid shots for back pain now linked to a deadly meningitis outbreak. It's an effort to help identify affected patients so they can be treated immediately. The number of cases of the rare fungal meningitis has reached nearly 50 and has spread to a 7th state. 5 people have died. The Labor Department says the nation's jobless rate fell to 7.8% last month, matching the level when President Obama took office. At a campaign appearance in Virginia today, President Obama says the economy has come too far to turn back now.
We've made too much progress to return to the policies that led to the crisis in the first place. I can't allow that to happen. I won't allow that to happen.
While Mitt Romney says the jobless report isn't as rosy as Democrats make it out to be.
Fewer new jobs created this month than last month. And the unemployment rate, as you noted this year, has come down very, very slowly, but it's come down nonetheless. The reason it's come down this year is primarily due to the fact that more and more people have just stopped looking for work.
And some are skeptical of those unemployment figures, including former General Electric CEO Jack Welch. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 35 points to 13,610. The Nasdaq dropped to 13. The S&P was flat. Crude oil down $1.82 to close at $89.89 a barrel. This is SRN News.
Policies issued by American General Life Insurance Company, Houston, Texas. Not available in all states. For details, visit AIGdirect.com.
If you died tomorrow, would your family have enough to pay the bills? Or could they lose their house, savings, and dreams of a good education? You don't have to put them through that. Getting term life insurance to provide for your family is fast, easy, and amazingly affordable. A 5-minute call to AIG Direct could save you up to 70%. Just listen to this. Less than $17 a month gets you a $250,000 policy. Now is a great time to get term life because some prices have dropped to their lowest rates ever. And AIG Direct has partnered with American General Life to bring you their lowest rates on term life insurance. Find out how incredibly affordable term life is through AIG Direct. Call now for a free, no-obligation quote. The call takes just a few minutes, and through AIG Direct, you could save up to 70%. Call 1-800-425-0474. That's 1-800-425-0474. 1-800-425-0474.
This week, Acura of Honolulu and Automart USA proudly announced a salute to our military, an exciting event to welcome home our returning service members and thank all of our active duty retired military and their families for their service and sacrifice. Visit our stores and receive the special treatment you deserve, a $500 accessories allowance to dress up your new Acura with finance rates as low as 0.9% APR, or browse our huge inventory of pre-owned cars and get $500 off our lowest website pricing. With your new Acura, you'll get free oil changes for 2 years. And with every car sold to our military, we'll donate $100 to the Wounded Warrior Project to assist the soldiers who need it most. We'll have food trucks, fun, and a chance to win a new iPad 2 or a Neighbor Island sweetheart getaway to reunite a lucky couple. Military appreciation comes standard at Acura of Honolulu and Automart USA every day, not just 1 month out of the year. So don't wait. Stop by our easy-to-find locations today on Ala Moana Boulevard and get the special benefits you've earned.
Welcome to Think Tech Friday, part of the Think Tech radio series on AM 760 KGU, broadcasting across the islands and raising public awareness in Hawaii. Now, here's your host, Jay Fidel.
Thank you, Jack Waters. This is Jay Fidel, Think Tech on Friday. We have a wonderful show for you today. It warms my heart, this show, and we haven't even started. This show is called, Is It Time to Forget About Clean Energy? Okay, and with us here today, we have my co-host, David Day. Isn't that wonderful? What a surprise right there all by
Hey,
itself.
it's great to be here, Jay, and, I like this title.
Okay.
I do.
We can do that.
I do.
Make it a regular thread, if people catch on to it. And then we have our guest, who is Leslie Cole Brooks. That's a hyphenated name. And Leslie Cole Brooks is the executive director of the Hawaii Solar Energy Association, serving Hawaii since 1977. All right.
It's great to be here, but I haven't been the ED since 1977.
Yeah. We're going to give you credit for it.
Yeah. Oh, well, I don't deserve all that credit, no.
And the show generated out of 2 articles that came out in the paper within the last week. One was called Solar Tax Credit Burnout. This was in the Insight section of the Star Advertiser this past Sunday, September 30. And the other was the article that I myself wrote called, I don't know exactly what the title in the paper was, because you never know what the title in the paper is going to be.
That's where the gurus at the newspaper, they do their magic stuff. And it's sort of like making sausage.
With those
it's sort of like making sausage, It's not a pretty process.
Well, anyway, I called it Libya Shows That Hawaii Needs to Be Relevant. And, this is pretty close. Their title for it is When It Comes to Energy, the Crisis is Now Upon Us. And, in the 21st century, we got crises. We do.
Well, why did they drop the Libya? Are they scared of that?
No, that was the text in the articles.
Oh, yeah, I'm talking about the headline.
It's what happens in newspapers around the world. There are people who write the headlines, and that's that. It's an immutable truth, I'm telling you, David.
Okay.
There's nothing you can do to change it. Struggle as you will.
I'm struggling because I like your title better.
So, Leslie, let's talk about yours first, because it came out first. First of all, how did you get this article placed? Okay.
Well, I just couldn't help myself that it's the tax credits have been very hot lately, and everybody's talking about it. And there was an article that was out very critical of the tax credits and basically saying that it's costing too much money and we don't need it. And I just had to respond. So I sat down and actually, I was on my way home from a solar convention in Orlando, and these things happen when you go away. Actually, I was backpacking, so I was completely, no connection at all. And I came back from that. I'd been out in the beautiful mountains and said, "Oh my goodness, look what's happened since I've been gone." So I sat down and just kind of wrote down just the main, very just straightforward, it's just such a no-brainer in a sense. I kind of hate that term. Don't you hate that? Because it just implies that even if you
didn't need a brain to do it.
Well, even if you didn't have a brain, like you
had you been drinking at the time?
No. Well, I actually did upgrade, but.
I have my answer.
No, but this is before the service started, because it was so easy to write and so straightforward. I didn't have to struggle, and I just whipped it out, and I couldn't wait to get back home so I could send it to the paper.
And now you got an audience out there with this long line of taillights, and they're saying, "What did she say? What did she write? What was it? How do you do that? What is this all about?"
Be in the right mood.
I'm listening to this radio show and I don't understand.
What happens when you have a good seat on the airplane? This is
all the vectors come from all over.
Absolutely,
and everything feels right. Yeah. You're at peace with yourself, and your brain is connected somehow, and off you go.
Yeah, that's right. So,
I use a thing called SpeakWrite. I'll tell you now. SpeakWrite when I write something. SpeakWrite is an app, okay, on your phone, and you turn this thing on and you talk into it, okay, and half an hour later it comes back to you in text, perfect text.
What did she write?
Wow.
I don't know. Oh, we'll talk about that now. Okay. So, summarize for us, Leslie, what this moment of truth was. What did you put down?
Okay. Well, basically, I'd break it down, I think, to 3 main points, to just keep it short here to begin with. First of all, the solar tax credit creates jobs, because when people have an incentive to have solar, they're going to hire someone to come do it. It's just not an idea like it's an incentive to be a good person. This is an incentive to put a little miniature power plant on your roof. And this means that somebody's going to get up there and install it. And that person, usually a man, might be a woman though, is going to have a job. So he's going to get a paycheck. So let's just say he or she, but that's always awkward. So he has a paycheck, he pays state tax, his employer pays DET tax for any sale or service, right? And pays into the unemployment fund. The workers' comp fund also pays state tax on, we're not even counting the feds at this point, on profit on the business. So first of all, it brings real revenue into the state. Now, what was driving me crazy was that I was responding to this article from the Council on Revenues that was talking about the forecast. Oh my God, look at this. Forecast, things are going to be less than we thought. Well, all right, I'm saying, what's the benefit? They're just looking at the cost. And so that was my next main point of it costs a certain amount to have this solar investment, but what is the actual revenue benefit from putting people to work? But more importantly, more dear to my heart, because you did brush the bark off me, you said when I came in, because I'm a tree hugger.
We found out she was a tree
hugger. Yeah, I know. I
hugger.
tried to brush, but what can I do?
And we're still doing the radio
I
show.
know. I know. It was a little iffy there. I was a little scary.
I'm really itchy now, Jay.
I know. I'm sorry.
Itchy.
I'm sorry. There's so many beautiful trees in Hawaii. It took me a while to get down here to the studio.
Can we get back to the bark, please?
Okay, back to the bark. So, okay. This
is Leslie Cole Bark bringing it.
No, don't call me that, because then it's going to start a terrible trend. So most important, the jobs, the benefits, but we are trying to put in a clean energy infrastructure here in Hawaii, where we have the highest electric rates in the nation, where we're depending upon fossil fuels, which are very undependable. And we're in a very vulnerable position, and we need to move forward. We need to have this insurance. We need to have a clean energy infrastructure. Just makes sense.
Okay, that's it?
Well,
you said there were three points.
Well, in a nutshell, I suppose the jobs, the cost benefits of the energy infrastructure. I also talked about, because this is what you always hear. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, but we could just reduce the credits or get rid of them, and people are still going to install solar, right? I mean, everybody wants to do it because it's the right thing to do. Everybody, I think, in their hearts of hearts, or most people do, because it is the right thing to do. But the fact is, and the facts show, that when incentives are reduced, that the installations go down. And we're talking here about speed and scale. Do we really want to reduce both jobs and the speed and scale of our transformation into having clean energy infrastructure here in the state of Hawaii? And then I ended, as I always do, with my concerns about the environment. Does the state of Hawaii really want to depend upon, we can't, because oil's peaking, or it's peaked already, but even if we put ourselves into some sort of nursery rhyme and say, oh, clean energy, oil, it's going to last forever, won't it? I mean, we'll just get it from the tar sands and just, work that out somehow. Is that oil is dangerous, expensive, and very, very harmful to the environment to extract, and it's getting even worse. And it's just time for us to move on. And so I think the end of my article, I just talked about the good people of Hawaii, and we have the heart here, I think, to do it.
If this makes you want to join the Hawaii Solar Energy Association, it does for me, I mean, your members are mostly installers and companies, contractors that are engaged. But you know what? You don't have to be.
Manufacturers, distributors, attorneys, PR, college instructors. We're everybody, HSCA.
So it's actually becoming more philosophical, isn't it? It's not just a trade association, is it? Tell me it's true.
It's true.
Good.
It's true.
Okay, so take a look at hsea.org, Hawaii Solar Energy Association, serving Hawaii since 1977. But I want to talk about one thing. I want to pick up on one thing you said, and I'd like to sort of explore this, because I don't think that Hawaii in general gets it about incentives and the way the government changes the conduct of the economy, of the people in the economy, of the attitudes in the community by way of incentives. I mean, offer one thought, but there's much more about incentives, is that if I have an incentive to do solar, it's telling me something. It's giving me a governmental nod. It's saying that somebody up there in the government has made an examination of this and finds that solar is a good thing. They want to encourage me to do it. And they're willing to put their money where their mouth is, and therefore it's not just a vacuous promise. It is a true, authentic, sincere statement by government because they're putting their money where their mouth is. And it tells me that not only is solar good, but clean energy is good. It tells me that there is a transformation happening in our state and that everybody is on board. It tells me we are moving to another place. We are improving. We are expanding our consciousness about the environment. Can we just think about that for a minute and come back and see what you think, whether you agree or not, right after this old-fashioned break, which will take only a moment. We'll be right back. David Day, Jay Fidel, and Leslie Cole Brooks talking about whether it's time to forget about clean energy here on Think Tech. Stay right there.
760 KGU.
Part of the Wall Street Business Network.
We've got a couple of problems right now. On the Poly Highway, Honolulu bound, there's a stall up at the tunnels. No problems reported to the windward side on the Poly or the Likelike or the H3. Up in central Oahu, a repeat of yesterday, we got an accident at Wilikina Drive and Kamananui Road. That's got Kamehameha Highway traffic headed up from the North Shore, backed up well before Dole Plantation. Allow extra time.
Can't find a jeweler to repair your broken jewelry or replace missing stones, restring your pearls? Hi, this is Brenda Ritchell of Carats and Carats Fine Jewelry. We make miracles happen with your broken or damaged jewelry. We're a full-service jeweler. We repair gold, silver, and platinum jewelry. We even polish diamonds and gemstones. Bring us your jewelry to repair at our new location in the Aina Haina Shopping Center, Carats and Carats, 735-2301.
Think Tech Radio is also sponsored by Pacific Cap. Pacific Cap, Hawaii's largest locally based venture capital firm, provides early and later stage financing for Hawaii's high-tech, emerging growth and alternative energy companies. With market focus, experience, and perspectives that are global, Pacific Cap's roots and heart are local. Pacific Cap, a local venture capital firm funding Hawaii's global opportunities.
Think Tech Hawaii is a Hawaii nonprofit corporation organized in the year 2000. Its purpose is to raise public awareness about the importance of technology, energy, agriculture, and globalism to the diversification and expansion of our economy. We do this by television shows on community television and on OC16, by newspaper articles, and by our Think Tech radio series on KGU 760 AM. We also do it by panel programs and events, including our monthly luncheon programs with the Hawaii Venture Capital Association. Think Tech, working to raise public awareness in Hawaii. Check us out at thinktechhawaii.com.
You're listening to Think Tech Friday, part of the Think Tech radio series on AM 760 KGU. Now here once again is your host, Jay Fidel.
You're not kidding. This is Think Tech here on Friday. Wow, we're hot. We got David Day, we got Leslie Cole Brooks, and we're talking about solar energy. And for the moment, we're talking about subsidies versus investments versus tax credits versus incentives. What does it all mean, Leslie?
Okay, well, when I hear the word subsidy, it sounds to me like that is saying this is just sort of a welfare for the wealthy that want to put these really fun little
Leslie,
toys
I
in
mean,
the
come
room.
on, let's be straight on this. Isn't that all it is? It is. It's you got a fake business that can't make it. They can't make it in the marketplace, so you got to shovel them a little money under the side so they can do it, right?
Oh my goodness!
Don't buy into that.
I know. Who is
into
this
that.
guy? You know, I just saw
How
this
did he
guy.
get into the studio?
Yeah, I don't know. I think he might be impersonating somebody that like has their head screwed on.
We need some help.
Yeah, I know.
Cully
Judd
Judd should call us right now.
Right.
A member of your board at the Solar Association, and he should say something about this. Cully, she needs your help. She needs backup, okay?
Yeah.
Call 296-5467. Cully Judd, yeah.
Okay, so this is not a subsidy. This is an investment in
What's the difference? It's just money out of the government's pocket.
Well, it's not, though. That a subsidy would be something where you're not necessarily getting something back for that. Maybe helping somebody out that just needs help, and there is a time to do that. But in this case, it's not helping out. What you call it, a fake business?
Yeah, because of course it's a fake business. Because
how is it a fake business?
Because a real business makes money.
It's saving you. It's saving the state of Hawaii from the time that the price of oil goes up twice, and everybody looks at their electric bill and they keel over, and like, X's in their eyes because now their bill went from
Okay, so why don't I put the solar in when the price of oil goes to $300 a barrel?
Because it's not something you can just do this morning. This is not something you go, oh my goodness, we should have planned ahead. That was really dumb. Why didn't we do that? Okay, well, I lost my job because my employer had to cut back because his electric bill was 3 times as much. And I didn't lose my job. Now I got 19 hours. Oh, darn, I lost my health insurance. Well, that's kind of painful. This is an investment. This is an investment in having some sanity on this beautiful island where we have the highest electric rates in the nation, and there is a boat that saves us. And what's that boat got in it?
Oil.
Yeah, the oil. The oil.
But you see, I would add something to that.
Yeah, please.
The reality is we're in the 21st century, and the 21st century has moved even in a few years faster than the 20th century.
Yeah.
It's moving fast. The world changes. And if you want to tune your economy, if you want your economy, I'm addressing this to you, David, if you want your economy to do it differently or better, you can't say, okay, boys, why don't you do this? Jawboning doesn't work. You have got to twist their arm, and you do that with incentives.
So what you're saying is the government picks the winners and the losers.
You bet.
So if I make,
you think the government hasn't been doing that for 1,000 years?
So if I make ukuleles, I don't get the benefit of a subsidy. I'm not in the preferred class. But if I make solar panels,
ukuleles are not going to save our economy. As much as I personally respect them, and I think it's a great business, and they're doing well, and they make music and make my heart sing, they're not going to save our economy. So you make priorities. Government needs to do that to shape the economy.
That's right. And even if, and I think kind of where you're going, I still don't know what you mean by this fake business thing.
It is a fake business.
Let's just say that it sounds like you don't believe the fact that if people's energy bills doubled, which would happen very easily, right? I mean, what if, for instance, in the Middle East, there was some sort of crisis? Gee, I wonder what the chances of that happening are. Pretty high. So let's say
higher
that
now.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, guaranteed. Okay, yeah, and God knows what's going to happen. Well, I don't want to go there about the presidential election.
Well, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, okay, good. So 35% of the world's oil comes from that part of the country. You might be thinking, well, we don't get our oil from there, so that's okay. We won't be impacted. Where do you think the countries that get their oil, that make them work and run, where are they going to go when they can't get it from the Middle East anymore? It's supply and demand, and the cost is going to go up. And that tanker that's chugging across the ocean to Hawaii to come keep our lights on, it's going to make a U-turn, and it's going to go to the highest bidder. Then the prices will go up, even though we aren't getting our oil directly from the Middle East. It's going to go up. There's not a good, you just don't replace it now suddenly with something you go buy at Home Depot. You don't say, well, I'll just go do this. I mean, what's HECO going to do?
There are really no options.
There are really no options. So this is a hedge. This is insurance. This is infrastructure.
This is survival. So, David, you are our West of Asia correspondent, and you study such things. Can you give our listeners a little précis about how the Strait of Hormuz works and how it's working right now?
Well, the Strait of Hormuz is the juncture where a lot of the oil from the Middle East passes through there. The percentage that comes into the Asia Pacific region is something like 15 to 25% coming in there, and then there's another critical strait, even more critical than the Strait of Hormuz, which is the Straits of Malacca. At the tip of where you see the tip of the Malay Peninsula, where Singapore is, and that strait is a choke point where we have approximately 50% of the world's oil supply flows through the Straits of Malacca, and this is why this controversy over the South China Sea is so critical, because that's the sea lane.
That's true. That adds another dimension to it. I started out in my article, again titled Libya Shows That Hawaii Needs to Be Relevant, showing that what's going on in the Middle East now is very threatening to our oil supply. Not only the price, but the availability too. But that's not the only thing. In the 21st century, things happen quickly and everything is interconnected. And, there's a lot of controversy around. I mean, the more we study it, the more we find. So it doesn't have to be Libya that brings us down. It could be the Straits of Malacca the same way.
That's right. That's right.
So we are great. We are more at risk now than we ever were, but we are pretty much just as dependent on oil as we ever were. Talk about solar. In fact, solar is something like 5% of the statewide load.
Yeah.
But
a very
Jay,
small percentage.
The truth is, a piece of our dependency on oil and the price of the oil is partially artificial. And this, Leslie has made an excellent point about the price of the barrel of oil could skyrocket with any number of these events or just over time. But part of that is
a frog thing.
No, it's part of it's artificial, because if you look at the production of oil coming out of Canada has done a phenomenal job at holding the world prices down a bit because their production has been up. But we in the United States, as a consequence of our some of our environmental policies, some of them are good, some of them are not so good, have restrained the production of oil from the United States, whether it's off Alaska or in the lower 48, and that has increased the U.S. dependence on foreign oil tremendously. When we have it within our own boundaries,
we are as dependent as any state. In fact, we are dependent
we are more.
on
We're
all
more.
the
We're more.
states.
Yeah.
Because all we take is oil, and right now, after all 4 or 5 years now of clean energy development, if you will, we're still at 90% oil. So if anything happened tomorrow, and things move so quickly, we would be in that crisis. So
there's a local phrase here that we can't say on the air, but all of you driving in your cars,
why don't you suggest what it might be?
Well, it has to do with kimchi.
Sure, we can say it. See, but you talk about these big jumps. It's the boiling, the frog boiling in oil, boiling in water, but it's really oil.
Mm-hmm.
That I worry about.
Even worse.
We don't notice it because we're not tracking on it.
Yeah.
Nobody really follows from day to day.
But the issue that we're focused on this show today is whether or not solar has reached a level of maturity that it's appropriate for the legislature to chop off the tax incentives. Yes?
Yeah. And let me preface that, and you can respond, Leslie, that there has been discussion in the past 2 legislative sessions that I know about where people have come forward with ideas and schedules and bills to retire the solar tax credit.
Yeah.
And undoubtedly that will happen this year. And I would like to offer another thought that what will happen this year is also moves to address the abuse question, where they put 3-4 systems on the roof and claim 3-4 times the solar credit because they took one system and divided it up into 3 or 4, which is like abusive. So there will be action this session for sure, and let's talk about that. I mean, it's coming. Should it be coming? What can we do to change that? What can we do to protect the industry? This false industry that you're talking about is actually a critical industry because it is iconic.
Wait a minute,
it is the clearest possible statement.
Let's be fair to what I was saying. Let's be fair now.
There's no reason to be fair
here. It's a fake business.
I don't know why you would suggest that.
It's a fake business because...
What do you mean by that?
Well, let me explain. Whenever you have a business that can't make it on its own legs, that has to have government subsidies, it's not in a free market system. It's not out there surviving on its own. It's got to have the welfare handouts from the government to make it work.
Okay,
but wait a second. Wait. Let me finish.
He's going to run for president real soon.
Is he?
It won't be on the Obama ticket.
Yeah.
It's a fake business, but it's a business that we have determined by way of the society or the culture that we want that business to somehow to succeed, and so we provide the tax incentives so they can get past the non-profit part. They're not making money. That's what I mean by fake.
Okay, Leslie, what parts, if any, of that do you agree with?
Okay, well, I don't agree with any of that, and I just want to say, then how would you explain the fact that the federal government subsidizes or gives incentives to the oil and gas industry 13-1.
So what subsidies are you talking about?
So
the oil and gas subsidies.
Yeah, oil and gas
They're
subsidies.
Huge. They're multi-billions.
How do you use that? And again, I'm talking about infrastructure. So would you say something like let me finish, please. Something like general contractors who are putting in roadways, for instance, is that a fake business because they have to get paid by the state in order to do this?
No. It's not. It's not that they're paid, but don't they charge a fair market value for their work?
They do.
Okay.
They do.
So that if I, as a private landowner, I have somebody put in a driveway, I pay X per square yard for that, and they pay this, or then the city pays them X. Hopefully, it's the same or close to the same fair market value for paving the road. They don't get another extra subsidy under the table, do they?
No, but there might be all sorts of ways that those kinds of funds are pushed forward in the budget, and in this case, with renewables, with green energy, it's part of the infrastructure for the state. There's all kinds of ways that the government sets up incentives for different behaviors, as you were saying before the beginning of our break.
And the critical question, and we come back to it because we're going to challenge Paul Brubaker on the other side of this. The critical question is whether we should have a free market economy where anything goes, or we should try to structure the economy to meet the challenges of the 21st century. It's not a small question. We'll allow 4 or 5 minutes for that. But right now, we're going to take a break.
Good.
We're here with Leslie Cole Brooks
kind of
and David Day. I'm Jay Fidel. This is Think Tech. We're talking about, is it time to forget about clean energy? We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
760 KGU.
Part of the Wall Street Business Network.
Up in central Oahu, we got an accident on Willikina Drive at Kamananui Road, and that's got Kamehameha Highway traffic heading up from the North Shore, backed up well before Dole Plantation. In Haleiwa, we've got an accident on Kamehameha Highway at North Shore Marketplace. Going west from town, the H1 slows at the Radford pedestrian overpass, the Moanalua at Kaiser, and in town we've got a stall on the H1 Evabound at Punahou.
Remember when you were 17, in great shape and feeling good? Not a care in the world. Well, here it is today, and there's a growing family to take care of. Of course, you've done some growing too, but many of us do gain weight as we get older. 20, 30 pounds, 40, but 100 pounds? Deep down inside, you know how serious it is. So it's the right time to get back into shape and be there for your family. The Surgical Weight Loss Institute at Castle Medical Center is staffed by caring experts and the only center of excellence for bariatric surgery in Hawaii. Not only will they share their proven surgical weight loss plan, they'll help you through diet, exercise, and education. At Castle Medical Center, the doctors and nurses are more than just experts. They're lifestyle coaches who understand how much you want to be there for your son's graduation, your daughter's wedding, every baby luau that follows. Sound good? Good. Take the first step and visit castlemed.org or call 263-5176. Castle Medical Center. Exceptional medicine by exceptional people.
With the Kahiava Wind Farm on Maui and the Kahuku and Kawailoa Wind Farms on Oahu, First Wind is pleased to create clean, local sources of energy powered by Hawaii's trade winds. Understanding our unique environment and host culture, First Wind develops projects that support local communities and provide net benefits to native wildlife, embracing the concept of caring from Mauka to Makai. Hu Kamakani. May the wind blow towards a sustainable future for Hawaii's people. For more information, visit firstwind.com.
You're listening to Think Tech Friday, part of the Think Tech radio series on AM 760 KGU. Now here once again is your host, Jay Fidel.
We're live. We're here. This is Think Tech. Jay Fidel, exciting. David Day, Leslie Cole Brooks.
I almost left, but I'm still here.
She's still here.
I punched him, yeah.
Well, the whole thing is about...
You're not supposed to fight in a radio show, The
whole thing is about free market, and a good case can be made, and a lot of economists here in these islands, I think most economists who speak on the point, say that a free market should govern and don't tamper with it. And that's one of the reasons a lot of economists didn't like Act 221. It was intended
for Mildred out there who's driving in this traffic. What's Act 221?
Act 221 was the tech tax credits that came in at the end of the Cayetano administration, in the late, early part of the 2000s, and was intended to grow the tech industry. And almost immediately, the Lingle administration began saying, it's already done, it's already had its effect, let's stop it.
And what happened to the tech industry when the Act 221 was pulled out?
It fell apart.
That's right.
That is so instructive. It's so important to this discussion.
That's right.
And it goes directly to the point you're making.
Yeah, and about kind of going back, Jay, to what you're talking about this at the legislature. And one of the themes that's out there is, well, we need to ramp down. We need to ramp down these credits, kind of wean them off, kind of game over, we're done. To begin with that idea, like with the tech credit, the tax records show that when incentives are reduced, the installations are also reduced. A great example is in 1985, Ronald Reagan came in and he got rid of all the federal tax credits for solar hot water installations. Solar hot water is a beautiful thing. It is smart, it is simple, it is elegant. If you got a lot of people in your house that use a lot of hot water, you don't have a solar hot water heater, what are you thinking? Okay? So Reagan, he wasn't thinking. In that case, he got.
I suppose in no other case. Never
Well, I'm trying to be fair because I know those apple cheeks of his. So anyway, but so he got rid of the federal incentive for solar hot water installations in Hawaii. Went down by how much do you think?
Oh, dramatically.
93%.
Wow.
We had a 93 reduction in the installation of solar hot water, one of the smartest, simplest things you can do here. If you've got a family of 4 or greater in your house, people taking hot showers and you do the laundry, dishes, whatever uses hot water. It just comes down to people don't have the money to invest in the infrastructure. Most people don't. They need a little help,
One step on top of that also. My point earlier, it's iconic. The solar tax credit was and is iconic. It's a statement of government. It's a nod by government. It's saying, we have these guys did all this research. We understand the larger picture. We're telling you it's good by giving you the credit. We take away the credit. We're telling you it isn't so good.
Right.
And everybody winds up backing off. That's what happens.
Right.
Psychology on a mass level.
Yeah. So it's not just the nuts and bolts of I can't afford it now, but the government is saying, we're just going to stick with the oil and the coal and whatever else we can get,
Yeah.
And we'll just keep going forever, even though we know that it won't. But yeah.
So anyway, let's talk for a minute because we don't have too many minutes left about the program for this coming legislature. What's going to happen, and what is the approach of the Solar Energy Association as to those winds that are blowing in the legislature to schedule it out, such as Paul Brubaker suggested, or to address abuses and so forth. What do you plan if you can tell me without having to kill me?
I don't have the urge to kill you right now at all, and hasn't even passed across me once. How are you on the other hand? So,
I resent that, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Let me. The Hawaii Solar Energy Association's stance on the abuse, as you call it, or this aggressive interpretation of the tax code as it stands. There's loopholes. There's ways that you can put in multiple systems. Sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. And we are really behind getting this thing cleaned up so we can get over this and move forward. Yeah. There's a lot going on right now. Maybe as some or many of your listeners know, that there is possibly an administrative rule fix before the executive branch.
That's true. That's such a good point.
We don't know what's going on with that, so that's kind of waiting. We're hoping if that does happen that they will at least hold off until July 1st, the beginning of the fiscal year, even though that's not convenient for taxpayers, to give the legislature a chance to really knuckle down and get this fixed. So best case scenario.
That's just a policeman thing, though. That's just a.
Yeah.
I like to go back to your point about administrative rules.
Yeah.
What we didn't understand in Act 221 is if you find abuses, apparent abuses, first and probably last, you can fix them with administrative rules. It's like the Internal Revenue Service. They write regulations. They plug loopholes that way. And that's the way to do it when you're talking about a tax credit. So they could have done that with 221, but they really never did. They put penalties and onerous, obligations and filing obligations on the taxpayer, but they never really plugged the holes and at the end it was like all or nothing. The same thing could happen in solar. If they put decent regulations in place and just said how many different systems you can have on a given roof, that would solve the problem.
Yeah, kind of. It's actually a little more complicated than that. Just it's as if the tax department, and I think their head is probably spinning around like Linda Blair in The Exorcist, because they've gotten in the job of fielding all the different changes in technology. And as you're saying, things move quick now. Technology is changing, and the rules don't quite apply anymore because of new types of systems that are coming in and whatnot. And so I think it's beyond the admin rule fix, and we need to go back to the legislature and really and fix the original statute.
Good for you to take that position, because that means you're going to deal with it straight up in a public way, transparent above all.
Yeah.
And you're going to look it right in the eye that way.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for. So, but we don't know. So,
well, what about the schedule reduction? What's your position on that?
Well, okay, I got to divide this into two parts. First of all, what's happened with this latest draft that's is where the legislature ended last session. Conference Draft 1 is what it's referred to mostly at this point. What it's done, unfortunately, is it's combined solar hot water and PV or photovoltaic, which is completely different, right? Solar hot water is basically just a lovely big box on your roof that heats the water up, and it works great if you use hot water, if you have the use for that. Really quick payback, very inexpensive, really makes sense. PV is more expensive, right? More complicated, and it takes longer to pay that back. It produces electricity. It depends upon your need. Unfortunately, PV and solar hot water have been grouped together, and kind of the way it looks to me now is like solar hot water has become sort of the red-haired stepchild of the solar industry. And it may be that there should be a ramp down given everything else equal, which I don't believe for PV, but for solar hot water it makes no sense, because solar hot water has not come down in price. It makes no sense to ramp that down, to ramp down the incentive amount. If anything, it's going to go up. I mean, the guts of it are copper. So, what are you going to do with that? With regards to the ramp down for PV, we would prefer that we wait to see what happens with the market. There's a lot of changes right now. It's true that the price of a panel has come down over the years quite a bit. But we just had this case with the Chinese dumping and the cost of panels and all this, and this is just getting hammered out. And ideally, you would wait to see what's going to happen with that. But the thing, most of all, when I hear someone say, all right, let's just gently kind of wean you off of these, these tax incentives and we're all good to go, I think, well, game over. Are we done? We're good to go, huh? I mean, we don't want to be too abrupt to hurt business or anything, but I guess we're pretty good. We've got a good energy infrastructure. If there's some sort of crisis in the Middle East, we won't have absolute chaos here. And that's not the case of all. So I don't even know why we're even talking about a ramp down at this point.
We're doing right now, ThinkTech's doing a show. It's going to start on Sunday night on OC16. It's about this new kind of solar. It's solar thermal, it's called. And it's on the roof of Whole Foods in Kailua. It's the first installation, commercial installation in Hawaii, and it's different. It uses vacuum tubes. It heats water. The water goes through a desiccate unit, LDAC, and this dehumidifies the air that goes into air conditioners, resulting in a much lower electric bill to air condition your grocery store or anything else. And it's brand new, and it seems to me, to offer a thought on what you were just saying, the technology's not done. There are new things coming out all day. The public should know about this. This should be an incentive for the public to go down that road also. So anything having to do with solar, meets my problem about Libya. It meets the Malacca Straits problem. It meets the 21st century. We have got to keep up with this kind of thing. I mean, it seems to me totally unfair if we lop off solar credits. What happens to solar thermal? So we never get penetration on solar thermal that way.
It just doesn't make sense, and it's an investment. If I could, I probably said that too many times already, but it's an investment in the infrastructure and in the stability for the state of Hawaii. This isn't. I mean, the government is not a a free market. It's not. If it were a free market, they'd say,
yeah, no kidding.
Let's just put 500 kids in one classroom. Wouldn't that be cheaper? I know. We could just have them all watch TV from home. That'd be a lot cheaper. Why don't we do that?
That actually is a good idea, considering the results that the Department of Education produces in children in the state of Hawaii.
The government and
they do such a good job.
But we've got to be smart. I mean, the thing about it is, like Singapore, we're an island, and we have got to be smarter because we don't have fallback.
Well, the challenge is we've got to be a lot smarter than Singapore, because Singapore has major oil refining within swimming distance of the city, right offshore there.
Yeah,
so they're not isolated like we are here.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we're dealing with a very risky situation. I think solar has been iconic. It has been the fastest growing alternative. It still doesn't cover that much ground because it's mostly residential, am I right? And maybe in the future you'll see more of it on buildings that are commercial and government buildings, and it will be powering a good part of our load somehow, one way or the other, with the technology that comes down the pike. So somehow this is, a critical piece in the portfolio puzzle for Hawaii. But we're going to talk more about this. We're talking to Leslie Cole Brooks of the Hawaii Solar Energy Association and David Day, our co-host, and I'm Jay Fidel, and we're addressing with tongue-in-cheek, is it time to forget about clean energy here tonight on Think Tech? We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Stay there.
760 KGU.
Part of the Wall Street Business Network.
If you're headed to town from Kailua, expect a slow ride. There's a stall on the Pali Highway, Honolulu bound, up at the tunnels, and that's got traffic backed up before Kapa'a Quarry Road. No problems going to the windward side on the Pali or the Like or the H3. Up in Wahiawa, we had an accident. Willikina Drive and Kamananui Road. Kamehameha Highway from the North Shore is backed up well before Dole Plantation.
Lex Brody's is celebrating 50 years of keeping Oahu rolling, but their legendary customer service and tires aren't the only things they have to keep you going. Does your vehicle have a fever? Is it overheating? Orthopedics concerns? Ball joints, suspension, knuckles? Under stress? Will it break down? Heat exhaustion? AC not working? Hit a pothole lately and need to see a podiatrist? Foot and tire specialist treating flat tires and bad brakes. Visit Lex Brody's. They're like your family doctor for your car. They perform vehicle checkups, alignments, brakes, oil changes, and more. And they specialize in auto preventative health care. Visit LexBrodys.com and save big on installed Michelin tires and mechanical services. Michelin offers safe, fuel-efficient, long-lasting tires that provide exceptional performance and extraordinary value. Lex Brody's is your alternative to the dealership. ASE and state-licensed Hawaii's own Lex Brody's Tire, Brake, and Service Company has won the International Better Business Bureau's 2011 Torch Award for excellence in customer service. Please visit LexBrodys.com for Super Saver mechanical and tire coupons.
Thank you very much, Lex Brody's Tire Company.
Think Tech Radio is also brought to you by InmoB. Since its inception in 2007, InmoB has grown to become the world's largest independent mobile advertising network, serving over 100 billion mobile ads to date. It has built its product in parts of the world where the mobile phone is not just a screen, it's the only screen. After launching in the US and Europe in 2010, InmoB has more than doubled its global network from 7 billion to 60 billion impressions monthly, and has offices on 4 continents, in Bangalore, Johannesburg, and London, in Nairobi, New York, and Paris, in San Francisco, Seoul, Singapore, and Tokyo. InmoB.
You're listening to Think Tech Radio's Technology and Media Wednesday with your host, Jay Fidel of Bendit Fidel Attorneys at Law.
Back for the wind-up of our show about solar tax credits. Is it true? Is it time to forget about clean energy? And it's tongue-in-cheek, but we're addressing solar tax credits with Leslie Cole Brooks of the Hawaii Solar Energy Association. She's the executive director. And David Day, my co-host, my expert on matters international involving oil, for example. Anyway, so Leslie, what do we have to do to deal with the problem of storage? Because solar, by its essence, by its essential characteristics, doesn't power anything when the sun don't shine. What are we going to do?
Right. And when the storage question is absolutely figured out, because there is storage now, it is available, but it's expensive, relatively speaking, and it takes up space. I kind of think of that as kind of like God's little joke, because Hawaii is paradise and it's perfect, and we have temperate weather, we have great sun, we have wind, and we have people with the heart here to do it, and then the sun goes down, and then the thing about Hawaii
comes to a grinding
exactly. And the thing about Hawaii, which is different from other states, is that our peak load here is in the evening. If you look at parts of California, for instance, the peak load is in the afternoon, and so it's a special problem. But look at some of the situations with, for instance, a school. A school building, for instance, would benefit so much by having PV on its roof, because the kids are there during the day, and the cost of paying those electric bills to the state are enormous. And if you could get through a third party, for instance, to finance putting solar on their roof, you bring down the electric costs, you have a smaller bill, you have a more stable economy, because we know that at least the lights are going to be kept on, the computers are going to be on in schools, there's money to pay teachers, to buy books, all those kinds of things. So even though storage really is an issue, and when the storage thing gets truly solved, and I know there's brilliant people out there that are working on it, then it's going to be really different. But even right now, there are so many things that can be done that can make significant differences.
Well, Leslie, isn't the storage issue the key part of the jumpstart piece of why you have a tax incentive? And that is that the whole solar industry is not, the technology is not complete yet until that storage piece is in place, and that the incentive needs to be there until the whole machine, if you will, is complete. Isn't that kind of the picture?
Ironic you should say that, because in this latest draft that's going to, who knows what will happen between now and January, right? Lots can happen. But in terms of the basis, or the tax basis, to determine how much of a credit you get, the cost of storage, if someone did choose to invest in that, is not included. They've taken that out. And so we've asked, that's one of the things that we're advocating for, that to say, okay, look,
that's like an appropriation for a highway, and you have no funds for paving, but we're going to build a highway, but don't pave it.
But the other kind of, so, and that I don't know where that came from, so we're hoping to change that so that it can be part of your basis. But right now, the storage that people have, in a sense, is with net energy metering. So, do you know how that works?
Connecting onto the grid.
Yeah,
back and forth.
So you use what you use during the day. It makes your meter, or let's say you're producing a lot of electricity, you're not using all of it during the day. It makes your meter go backwards, and you're sending it back onto the grid, and it's like a savings account. And then later, when you want to use electricity,
like at night,
you get, as long as you have money in your savings account, you have electricity in your electric savings account.
So that means the homeowner has actually converted their property into like a mini power plant.
In a sense, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But one thing that you said, and I'm also sort of folding in the whole thing about solar thermal, which only helps for air conditioning, or I suppose it could heat water if you wanted it to, but mostly it's this desiccant thing that helps with air conditioning. So if you find a part of the energy market that you can help, that you can apply clean energy to, then do it.
Yeah.
And we just have this part, that part, this part, all coming together,
right,
all eating away at the problem. Solar is one. This thermal solar be a possibility. A portfolio of lots of these things. And after a while, our 90%, oil will be 80, 70, 60. That's what we've got to do. We've got to keep working on it. And the fact that we don't have storage yet is not an impediment in larger sense, because we're still working at it where we can. We take the clean energy, sources, and we use them to the best that we can.
Right, and it's also because, like you were asking, well, why can't we just if there's a problem, can we just change out immediately? And it's complicated. You know, there's so many other things to consider, like the grid itself. The utility, for instance, just came out with more relaxed rules about interconnections.
We saw that. Good for them.
Yeah.
That's on their own motion they did. Yeah, that's very good.
So now, before on certain circuits where the circuit's really saturated and you want to put in some sort of solar device, it depending upon the place and the saturation, you might have had to invest in a study and $3,000 a study, and it just adds to the cost. But it's because the utility has had the opportunity to look at the grid to see to see what can it do, what can they put on that, because the utility is bound by statute to provide reliable, reasonably priced energy.
Right.
And they can't, like other places like California, if they make a big mistake, they just buy hydroelectric power for Oregon. You know, in a pinch.
Can't flip a switch.
It's expensive, but we can't say, oh, whoops, so sorry about that. Well, let's just, that
was a nice adventure.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, I want to say though, in the closing minutes here, and you can tell me how you feel about it, but I want to say that I admire you for being where you are, and also I envy you for being where you are. This transformation, which is going on whether we like it or not, it's happening because of Libya and the Straits of Malacca, whether we like it or not. This crisis, whether we like it or not, we're involved in a transformation of energy, of our society, of our economy, whether we like it or not. And you, Leslie, are right there in the middle of it. You have some years of the most creative possible lifetime experience that anybody could ever want.